You may be seated. Thank you so much for being here today. I believe this is not just another day, not just another moment, but a divine appointment. I don't think you showed up here by accident. I believe something is about to shift in your spirit. Something is about to break free in your thinking. There's power in letting go. There's strength in releasing what's trying to poison your heart. You see, we all have opportunities to get offended, to be bitter, to hold on to grudges. But offense is a trap. It may seem small, but it can do more damage than we imagine. Today, I want to talk to you about how important it is to keep your heart free from offense. Because your destiny is too big, your calling is too great, and your peace is too valuable to let something small steal it from you. There are certain things in life that don't make noise when they break you. Some battles don't leave bruises on the outside, but create wounds that bleed internally. One of the most dangerous of these quiet enemies is what we allow to dwell in our heart. It's subtle, it doesn't shout. It doesn't come crashing in, slips in softly, through a word that hurt, a betrayal that stung, a rejection that stayed. Before you even realize it, something begins to change on the inside. That lightness you used to carry is gone. That peace you once enjoyed now feels distant. And that joy that used to come so naturally begins to fade. You see, what we don't often realize is that when we allow hurt to sit in our hearts unattended, it begins to grow. At first it seems small, just a moment, just a comment, just a misunderstanding. But the heart doesn't forget what the mind tries to ignore. The things we don't deal with us, and they rarely do it loudly. No, they creep in quietly and start stealing the things that keep us spiritually and emotionally strong. You used to walk into rooms confident. You used to greet people warmly. You used to wake up excited about the day. But now, something feels off. You smile less. You isolate more. And you're not sure why, but your passion isn't what it used to be. That's what happens when something starts draining you from within. When joy starts leaking out of your spirit without you even noticing. When your peace feels like it's slowly slipping through your finger. And all the while, it's not that your life has fallen apart. It's just that your heart hasn't been healed. It doesn't take much to get stuck in a cycle where things keep replaying in your mind. You keep reliving the moments someone mistreated you, or when someone overlooked your value, or when someone you trusted hurt you deeply. It's almost like your thoughts keep bringing it back up, not because you want to dwell on it, but because it never really got resolved on the inside. And the more you feed that pain with attention, the more room it takes up in your heart. That space used to be filled with joy. Now it's occupied with frustration. That place that was once reserved for peace has now been turned into a courtroom where you replay arguments, build cases, and expect someone to pay for what they did. But here's the truth. When you allow yourself to be consumed by what they did, you lose sight of what you're called to do. When your mind is filled with everything that went wrong, your heart has the capacity to focus on what can go right. That's the silent theft happening behind the scenes. It's not loud like chaos. It's not aggressive like rage. It's subtle like a slow leak in your spirit, draining the energy you need to keep moving forward. Some people don't realize that they're stuck, not because of what happened, but because they never released what followed. They think they're just tired. They think they're just unmotivated. They think maybe something is wrong with them. But it's not always a physical weariness. And what makes it heavier is the fact that it's unspoken, often hidden. On the outside, you can be smiling. But on the inside, there's this heaviness that doesn't go away. You weren't created to carry that. You weren't built to walk through life, dragging invisible chains behind you. That moment that hurt you wasn't supposed to define you. That mistake someone else made wasn't supposed to be your burden to carry forever. But as long as you keep it in your heart, it has power over your spirit. And while it remains there, it continues to rob you, not of your salvation strength, not of your calling, but of your clarity. Clarity. Not of your future, but of your fire. When you realize this, something shifts. You begin to see that freedom isn't just about letting go of what's toxic. It's about reclaiming what's been stolen. That joy. It's yours. That peace. It belongs to you. That ability to love and trust again. It can be restored. But only when you stop allowing pain to occupy sacred space in your soul. Only when you choose to heal, even if they never apologize. Only when you decide that the future is more valuable than the frustration. It's not easy. It takes strength to say, "Oh, I'm not going to let this stay in me." It takes spiritual maturity to say, "I'm not going to let what happened to me harden me." It's one of the most powerful decisions you can make. Not because it changes what happened, but because it changes what's happening in you. And when you stop the silent theme, when you close the door on what's been stealing your joy, you begin to feel lighter again. Not because life gets easier, but because your heart gets clearer. You don't need to wait for them to make it right. You don't need to wait for an apology that may never come. You don't need the closure you think you need. What you need is peace. And peace doesn't come when the storm ends. It comes when you decide to stop giving the storm permission to live in your heart. So today, choose to reclaim your joy. Choose to guard your peace. And most of all, choose to keep your heart light, cured, and free from anything trying to steal your purpose in silence. That's how you move forward. Not with bitterness in your heart, but with power in your spirit. One of the greatest lessons in life is realizing that your power doesn't come from controlling what happens around you. It comes from mastering what happens within you. You will never be able to control how people treat you. You can't control their words, their reactions, their attitudes, or their action. You can't make someone be kind. You can't force someone to be loyal. You can't convince someone to value you, respect you, or treat you the way you deserve. If your peace depends on people doing right by you, you'll always be on an emotional roller coaster. But here's the good news. Your peace doesn't have to come from how others behave. It can come from the decision to protect what goes on in your heart. Life will always present you with opportunities to get offended or bitter. People will say things that sting. Friends will let you down. Family will misunderstand you. Co-workers might try to discredit you. It's easy to want to react, to defend yourself, to prove a point, or to put someone in their place. But while all of that feels satisfying in the moment, it costs something far more precious than being right. It costs your emotional and spiritual balance. Every time you take in a negative interaction and hold it too long, something starts shifting on the inside. Your peace gets disturbed. Your joy gets interrupted. Your focus becomes cloudy. What started as a passing comment turns into a lingering weight. What could have been dismissed ends up being replayed over and over again. And what should have just brushed past you starts to dig its way into your soul. The issue isn't what they did. The issue is that you gave it a seat in your heart. You don't have to accept everything that comes your way. Just because someone throws a stone doesn't mean you need to catch it. Just because someone speaks against you doesn't mean it has to take root in. You have the power to say, "That's not mine to carry." You have the ability to walk away from something that doesn't serve your peace. You may not control what enters your ears, but you can absolutely choose what stays in your thoughts and settles in your spirit. This is where strength is often misunderstood. Strength isn't always found in confrontation. Sometimes the greatest strength is found in restraint. When you could respond, but you choose to rise above it. When you could retaliate, but you decide to remain calm. That doesn't mean you're weak. That doesn't mean you're letting people walk all over you. That means you understand the value of what you carry inside, and you refuse to let anything cheapen it. What many people don't realize is that the heart is like soil. Whatever you plant in it, it will grow. If you allow negativity, resentment, and anger to settle, even if it feels justified, it begins to grow roots. And over time, it doesn't just affect one area of your life. It begins to spill into your relationships, your mindset, your motivation, and even your health. But the reverse is also true. When you intentionally protect your heart, when you filter what you allow in, when you let some things go and refuse to replay the offense, you create space for peace, joy, and strength to flourish. You weren't created to live in reaction to people. You weren't designed to constantly be on edge, always taking things personally, always carrying emotional residue from other people's actions. That's not living. That's surviving. And too many people are going through life carrying burdens that don't belong to them. Words that were spoken years ago. Mistakes someone else made. Disappointments from people who never had the capacity to see their value. But here's the truth. What others did can't stop your purpose unless you let it. What they said can't define your future unless you believe it. You hold the key to what enters and stays within your heart. There is freedom in understanding. Freedom in realizing that your destiny isn't tied to people's approval. Freedom in knowing that your emotional health doesn't depend on external behavior. You have the choice to guard your spirit, to refuse entrance to anything that doesn't align with who you truly are. And the more you make that choice, the lighter you become. The more you grow. The more your focus sharpens, the more you begin to see clearly, not through the lens of past hurt, but through the lens of inner strength. It takes courage to live this way. It takes awareness to pause and say, I won't let that get to me. It takes maturity to say, I can't change them, but I can choose me. And when you begin to live from that place, you no longer feel the need to chase explanations, fix people, or prove your worth. You begin to protect your atmosphere. You start building a life that's not constantly leaking energy. And instead of reacting, you start creating. Instead of dwelling, you start dreaming. Instead of staying stuck, you move forward, whole, strong, and free. It often starts with something small. Someone made a comment that rubbed you the wrong way. They overlooked you, dismissed you, excluded you. At first, you brush it off. You tell yourself it's not a big deal. You try to forget it, move on. But the next day, it comes back to mind. You remember how it made you feel. It stings a little more. You start thinking about what you could have said, what you should have done, how wrong they were. And slowly, without even realizing it, a seed has been planted. That seed may be invisible to others, but inside you, it's very real. It's the feeling of resentment that creeps up during quiet moments. It's the mental replay of what they did. It's the conversations you keep having in your head that never actually happen. And over time, what started as a single offense begins to grow roots. It settles into your emotions. It colors the way you see people. It changes the way you respond to situations. It even affects your relationship with yourself. You may still go about your daily routine. You show up for work, you talk with friends, you go through the motions. But something is different now. Your trust is a little thinner. Your patience is a little shorter. Your heart is a little harder. The smile is still there, but behind it is a quiet heaviness, a weight you didn't ask for. but now carry because of something you never released. The longer it stays, the deeper it digs in. The danger of holding on to things for too long is that they don't just take up space. They start shaping the space they live in. That pain you didn't let go of becomes part of your perspective. It convinces you to expect disappointment. It whispers that people can't be trusted. It tells you that you're safer when you stay guarded. And without even realizing it, that unresolved pain starts affecting how you show up in the world. Not because of who you are, but because of what you're still carrying. What makes this so dangerous is that we often don't see it happen. We think we've moved on. We assume time has healed it. But time doesn't heal what you continue to rehearse. Time doesn't fix what you've buried but never released. It only gives the root more time to spread. And before long, that single moment of offense now touches areas of your life it was never meant to reach. This is why it's so important to be honest with yourself. To pause and ask you, what am I still holding on to? What thoughts do I keep feeding that are draining my peace? What memory do I replay that keeps making me angry? 'Cause the truth is, healing doesn't start with someone else doing something. It starts when you choose to release what you were never meant to carry long term. Letting go doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It doesn't mean saying it was okay. It means recognizing that holding on is costing you something far more valuable than being right or feeling justified. It's costing you joy. It's costing you relationships. It's costing you the energy and clarity you need to move forward. It's making your heart a home for things that were only meant to pass through. There's power in releasing what hurt you. There's freedom in deciding that you won't let one moment define the rest of your journey. You're not giving the person a free pass. You're giving yourself permission to be whole again. To smile for real. To breathe deeper. To live lighter. When you release it, you take your power back. You reclaim the parts of yourself that pain tried to bury. Some people wait for an apology. Heck, they wait for someone to take responsibility. But if your healing depends on what someone else does, you'll stay stuck in a story they wrote. You were never meant to live your life at the mercy of someone else's maturity. You have the authority to close the chapter without needing all the answers. You have the ability to say, this hurts me, but it will not have me. The root of bitterness, once fully grown, will not just stay between you and the person who hurt you. It will start to spread to your relationships with others. You'll misinterpret pure intentions. You'll respond with caution when people offer kindness. You'll put walls around your heart, thinking you're protecting yourself, when in reality you're keeping love, joy, and connection out. That's the poison working silently. But you don't have to live that way. You don't have to let it grow any further. The moment you decide to pull it out, to say, this no longer belongs here, is the moment the healing begins. And yes, it may take time. You may have to keep releasing it day after day. But every time you do, the root gets weaker, and your heart gets stronger. You were made to live free. You were created to carry joy, not judgment. Peace, not pain. Love, not lingering. Resentment, a choice to stop letting that offense grow. Because what you release won't have power over you anymore. And what no longer has power over you can no longer poison your future. There's a misconception many people carry when it comes to letting go. We think forgiving someone means we are excusing what they did. We think it's saying what happened was okay, or that the person should be let off the. But true healing doesn't come when someone apologizes. It doesn't begin when others finally understand how deeply they hurt you. It begins when you make a conscious decision to release yourself from the emotional grip of what they did. That's the truth most people overlook. Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you. When you hold on to what happened, you tie your peace to something you can't control. You carry weight that doesn't belong to your destiny. You give someone else power over how you feel, how you think, how you love. And without realizing it, you end up walking through life chained to a past that keeps stealing from your present. You might look fine on the outside. You might smile and carry on with your responsibilities. But deep inside, something still resents. Something still resents. Something still waits for them to fix what they broke. But what if they never do? What if they never say they're sorry? What if they move on and never look back? Does that mean you're destined to carry bitterness forever? No, because your freedom has never been dependent on someone else's behavior. You were given the authority to choose peace regardless of what anyone else chooses to do. Letting go is not about letting them win. It's about refusing to let what they did win over your joy. It's about looking at the situation and saying, "This happened. It hurt, but it will not hold me hostage." You don't need to pretend like the pain wasn't real. You just have to decide that your future is more important than staying stuck in that pain. There are people walking around today angry, frustrated, and closed off, not because they're naturally cold or distant, but because they never released what someone did to them 5, 10, even 20 years ago. A parent who abandoned them, a spouse who betrayed them, a friend who turned their back, a leader who broke their trust. And every time they remember it, they feel it all over again. That memory doesn't come alone. It comes with emotion, tension, pain, and regret. That's not living in freedom. That's surviving while still in chains. You may think I can't forgive them, but forgiveness was never about what they deserve. It's about what you deserve. To be free. You deserve to have peace when you lay your head down at night. You deserve to smile without something pulling at your soul. You deserve to be able to love fully without the fear of repeating the same hurt. And here's something powerful. When you forgive, you gain everything. You gain your strength back. You gain your clarity. It may feel like you're giving something away, but in reality, you're reclaiming what was stolen from you through pain. This process doesn't always happen overnight. Forgiveness can be messy. Some days, you may feel like you've moved on. Other days, the hurt comes back unexpectedly. But every time you choose release instead of revenge, you're healing. Every time you choose to let go rather than lash out, you're growing. It's not weakness, it's a quiet, powerful strength. The kind that builds legacy, the kind that changes generation, the kind that makes you unshakable. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive isn't someone else, it's yourself. You carry guilt, shame, and regret from decisions you made when you were in survival mode. Things you said, mistakes you made, seasons you mishandled. But the same principle applies. What happened may have shaped your past, but it doesn't have to define your future. You can't build a strong life while beating yourself up over yesterday's version of you. At some point you have to say, because healing isn't complete until you're free from both what others did and what you did. You're not meant to live with an invisible burden on your heart. You're not supposed to walk through life looking strong, but feeling drained. Drained. There's a version of you on the other side of this. Stronger, lighter, freer. And that version of you isn't bitter. That version isn't guarded. That version isn't stuck waiting for someone else to make it right. That version made the decision to stop giving the past power over the present. You have one heart, one life, one chance to show up in the world whole. Don't waste it holding on to what no longer deserves space in your life. Not their sake, but for yours. Because the weight you carry is not your identity. The offense you suffered is not your home. You were created to live free. And the door to that freedom opens the moment you choose to forgive. It's not always the big storms in life that hold us back. Sometimes it's the quiet barriers we've built inside that no one else can see. The full walls that slowly rise around our hearts. They weren't built overnight. They were built over time, layer by layer, moment by moment, one hurt at a time. Someone said something. Someone didn't show up. Someone lied. Someone left. And rather than deal with the pain, we protected ourselves. We told ourselves, I'll never let that happen again. And we started building. At first, the wall feels like safety, feels like strength. It feels like control, but over time, what we build to keep pain out begins to keep peace out too. What was supposed to guard our hearts becomes a prison around them. Because here's the truth. Offense doesn't just affect your emotion. It affects your accent. It doesn't just change how you feel about others. It changes what flows into your life. You may be praying for new connections, new opportunities, fresh favor. But what if the very thing you've built to protect yourself is also blocking what you're asking for? What if what you're holding on to is pushing away the blessing that's trying to reach you? Because blessings don't move through bitterness. Favor doesn't flourish where there's a hardened heart. And new doors won't open when you're still locked in a room built out of past pain. We don't always see it this way. We think we're just being cautious. We think we're just being wise. But sometimes, what we call caution is really avoidance. What we call wisdom is really fear wearing a mask. And the longer we hold on to offense, the easier it is to justify it. They were wrong. I don't trust people anymore. I'm just protecting my peace. But in reality, we're not protecting our peace. We're shutting it out. Some blessings come wrapped in relationships. But if your heart is blocked by what someone else did in the past, you'll keep rejecting the very things that were meant to take you into the next season. That mentor who reminds you of someone who hurt you. That opportunity that requires vulnerability. That door that demands trust. And because you haven't healed, you walk away. Not because it's not for you, but because offense still lives in you. This is why it's so important to release what no longer belongs. Not just because of what it did to you, but because of what it's keeping from you. Every time you let go of offense, you tear down another wall. Every time you forgive, you open another window for light to enter. Every time you bless instead of blame, you make more room for peace, clarity, and purpose. The heart wasn't designed to be a vault. It was designed to be a vessel. And when it's full of pain, there's no room for progress. When it's full of grudges, there's no space for growth. When you choose to carry offense, you're saying, I'd rather hold on to what happened than receive what's coming. But the moment you release it, you make space for something better. The moment you say, I refuse to let this define me, you unlock blessings you didn't even know were waiting. There are things you've been praying for, believing for, and they're not being denied. They're being denied, they're being delayed by the condition of your heart. Not because you're unworthy, but because favor flows where it can freely move. If there's a blockage, if there's resentment, if there's emotional clutter, it becomes difficult to receive what was meant for you. It's not about pretending it didn't happen. It's about refusing to let it hold you back. It's about trusting that what God has for you requires a pure heart, not a guarded one. That what's ahead is too valuable to be jeopardized by something that's already behind you. That your future connections, opportunities, and blessings are too significant to be filtered through the lens of past offenses. The challenge is to not let one person's mistake change how you treat everyone else. To not let one betrayal ruin your openness. To not let one season of pain make you miss a lifetime of peace. That's not easy, but it's powerful. It's to say, I'm not building walls, I'm building windows. I'm creating space for love, favor, connection, and joy. When you release what hurts you, you begin to receive what heals you. You no longer live with a clenched heart. You no longer push away the very things you've been praying for. You begin to walk into rooms lighter. You start seeing others through eyes of grace. And most importantly, you posture your heart in a way that says, I'm ready for what's next. There's a freedom that comes when the walls come down, a clarity that returns, a joy that begins to rise again, not because everything around you has changed, but because everything within you has. You've made room. And when you make room, blessings don't need to knock, they just flow in. Every day, we make silent choices. Not the ones people see, not the big decisions that make headlines in our lives, but the small, invisible choices, what we carry and what we let go of. These internal choices shape how we move, how we think, and how we live. And one of the most powerful truths you'll ever understand is this: what you choose to carry in your heart determines the direction of your life. Your heart is not just where your emotions live, it's the control center of your spirit. It's where your thoughts find their anchor, where your peace is protected, and where your faith is either fueled or drained. What you allow to settle there will influence everything: your relationships, your goals, your energy, your future. Some people wonder why they feel heavy all the time. Why motivation is hard to find. Why joy feels distant and peace doesn't last. And often it's not because of a lack of talent, opportunity, or blessing. It's because they're carrying weight they were never meant to carry. The emotional residue of offense, the frustration of what someone said, the burden of what someone didn't do, the quiet disappointment that took root over time, it all adds up. You may not see it at first. You're still functioning, still going through the motions, still checking the boxes. But over time, the heaviness creeps in. You get tired faster. You respond with more edge. You isolate without meaning to. And deep inside, you start shrinking. Not because life got smaller, but because the load in your heart got heavier. Life was never meant to be lived, carrying every disappointment, every betrayal, every offense. You were built to fly, not to drag baggage through every season. You can't reach your potential while holding on to what's weighing you down. And what's even more dangerous is that the longer you carry it, the more normal it feels. You begin to believe this heaviness is just part of who you are, when in fact, it's something that was never supposed to stay. The truth is, every heart carries something. But the difference between freedom and frustration isn't whether things happen to you. It's what you choose to do with them. You can choose to replay it or release it. You can carry it like a burden or treat it like a lesson. You can let it define you or you can let it refine you. The choice is always yours. Some people carry offense like armor. They think it protects them. If they hold on to the pain, maybe they won't get hurt again. If they stay guarded, maybe no one can get close enough to wound them. But the very thing meant to keep danger out also keeps joy out. You weren't created to build walls. You were created to soar. And you can't do that with a heart full of weight that doesn't belong to your destiny. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean pretending it didn't hurt. It means deciding that what happened will not have the final word in your life. It means saying, I have too much in front of me to be trapped by what's behind me. Because the truth is, it's the only way to rise. You release. You can't carry old anger into a new season and expect to feel light. You can't carry yesterday's hurt into today's opportunity and expect to feel free. Every time you release offense, you rise a little higher. Every time you choose forgiveness, your heart gets lighter. Every time you give grace where it's not deserved, you grow stronger. It's not weakness. It's strength, the strength to say, I choose peace over payback. I choose purpose over pettiness. I choose healing over holding on. You have a future that's calling your name, a purpose that's too great to be delayed by something someone said or did. You weren't created to live at the mercy of pain. You were created to rise from it, learn from it, and grow beyond it. But to do that, you have to make a decision. What will I carry with me? Or will I allow to take up space in my heart? Make the decision to choose freedom, choose joy, choose light. That doesn't mean everything in your life will be perfect. It means your heart will be clear enough to see the blessings when they come. It means you'll have the energy to keep moving, even when life is hard. It means you'll be able to love without fear, to dream without limits, and to live without emotional chains. There's no greater gift you can give yourself than the choice to be free, free from bitterness, free from offense, free from the weight of what others did. Because once your heart is free, your life begins to move again. Doors open. Peace flows, joy returns, and you find yourself lighter, not because the world changed, but because you did. You weren't created to carry the weight of everything that went wrong. You weren't designed to walk around heavy-hearted, reliving the pain, rehearsing the offense, or trying to make sense of who didn't treat you right. Life is too short, and your calling is too great to waste precious time and energy holding on to things that don't serve your growth. You may not be able to control you may not be able to change what they did, but you can decide what lives in your heart. You can decide whether you stay stuck in the story of what happened or rise into the story God is still writing for your future. The difference between bitterness and freedom isn't in what happened. It's in what you choose to do with it now. Every moment you release anger, you make space for peace. Every time you choose grace over resentment, you unlock another level of joy. Every time you forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you do, you break another chain. That's what freedom looks like. Not a life free from hurt, but a heart that refuses to stay chained by it. Your destiny needs a clear path. Your blessings need an open heart. And your future deserves a healed. So today, make a decision. Let it go. Lay it down. Release what's been weighing you down. Not because it didn't matter, but because you matter more. Don't let offense rob you of one more moment of peace. Keep your heart clean. Keep your spirit light. Keep your focus forward. And watch how high you'll rise when you're no longer held down by what was never meant to stay.